Welcome back to another edition of the Outside Looking In, man. Now we're coming to you with the AFC North, Cincinnati, Baltimore. Always these teams every time I get in here. The
Browns and
Ravens and
Ravens.
the Browns and the Ravens. Obviously, this is a real good division. It's going to be a fight. We'll start off with the defending champs in the division, the Bengals. LSU Junior, LSU Pro team is all I like to call them. Obviously, they shocked the world this past season, man, making it to the Super Bowl, the most unexpected
That
Super
close to
Bowl
winning.
appearance in a long time. They honestly win if Aaron Donald doesn't exist. So I mean, he just kind of took over that game. Obviously, Joe Burrow, Jamarr Chase led the way. Trey Hendrickson on defense, a couple other guys, but they had a super solid season. This year they have the 31st pick. I know they weren't expecting to have a super late first round pick, but they have a 31st pick. They did sign Lael Collins in free agency. Obviously, they needed offensive line help. So they did sign Lael Collins. They re-signed Eli Apple, who had a very interesting offseason to say the least. They signed Hayden Hurst, the tight end. They did lose their tight end to the Jets. And with that 31st pick, I think they're the team they can do anything with this. I've seen mocks with them drafting a tight end, an offensive lineman, a cornerback. So I mean, they can honestly go any direction with this. Personally, I would go offensive lineman just because obviously the offensive line was pathetic last year.
Mm-hmm.
If they have 5 new guys, that would be good for them. So they just need to go offensive lineman. I will go offensive lineman back-to-back picks, honestly. They don't need weapons. Offense is fine. Joe Mixon, Chase, Boyd, and Higgins, you don't need any weapons on offense unless you're drafting a tight end. But Hayden Hurst can be serviceable. So I would share up that offensive line or the defense for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's either not even either. Like even though you signed two, I believe at least two offensive linemen
Mm-hmm.
this
But yeah, because
during free agency,
the
you need
guy
to
from the
draft two
Bucks.
more. And then you need secondary help. You need somebody that can eventually replace Eli Apple.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm always big on you need just one top flight safety. I'm not saying you gotta have two of them back there, but you always need at least one top flight safety. So if you wanna, if there's a safety that's hovering around there in the second round, going ahead and grab them. But yeah, outside of that, they're still a young team. Everybody's under contract, so they don't have pressing needs. They're just grabbing more of what they want than necessarily what they need outside of the offensive line.
Yeah, man, because this is crazy. This you can go from Super Bowl, like a Super Bowl appearance, and the AFC is so tough. You can like not make the playoffs this year. So they're definitely
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to shore up that offensive line because the AFC is super tough. Obviously this division starts it off for being
And
tough.
Burrow's already been hurt. He was
Mm-hmm.
banged up, or not banged, but he was hit a lot in the playoffs. So you don't want to keep having him get hit like that. You definitely want to make sure that you're keeping him upright.
Then you have the Pittsburgh Steelers who signed Mitchell Trubisky. He's going to be their quarterback. Rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins. They were going to compete for that job, but Trubisky's. I mean, they probably weren't going to compete, but Trubisky's going to be the guy now. They didn't make too many moves in free agency. I think they kind of like their team. Where it is basically. The defense is always going to be good under Mike Tomlin, man. The defense is
Mm-hmm.
going to be there. I think they're just getting better, honestly, just because Big Ben retired. He was awful at times, like super awful at times last year. So I think they'll be good. They did add Brian Flores to the staff, so the defense is going to be top notch, in the NFL. So they basically just have to draft well. Najee Harris is going to be better. I think he'll be even better this season because they just stacked the box because they knew Big Ben couldn't throw the ball down the field anymore, man. So he
Correct.
has stacked boxes. He caught a lot of check down passes as well this year. So I think they'll be much better. And the Steelers will always be tough though.
Yeah. If I think out of everyone that we've talked about, I think the Steelers are the only team that I would actually say if a quarterback is there at your first round pick,
Mm-hmm.
then you can take him. Don't trade up for one. But if I can't remember what exact pick they choose, but
20th,
if
20th.
Willis drops or if Coral's there, going or Pickett, if they're there, talk about it, go ahead and grab them. But if they're not, it's okay. You can literally build your team and then wait to grab a quarterback next year, unless Trubisky has an outstanding season.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't, you can get your quarterback next year and he's coming into a team that's more established. And then they're the other team in the AFC North that needs to draft offensive linemen.
Yes, they do have the 20th pick. So like I agree. I wouldn't trade up for a quarterback, but if once they're 20 and you're sold on them, hey, why not take that chance on them? Then we'll just move on to the Cleveland Browns, man. They may have had the best offseason. They're in the running for, best offseason of the summer. Obviously, they signed Nasty Man Watson. He went there. They traded whatever haul they got, the big haul for him. But I mean, if you get a franchise quarterback, they get to move away from Baker Mayfield. Well, technically not because he's still there. So, but they bring Deshaun Watson in, man. They signed in, they locked Denzel Ward up, 5-year, $100 million deal. So, I mean, that's a great offseason. You just do those two things, you had a great offseason. So defense was already good. They have an elite running game. Offensive line is solid. I mean, at this point, may need one more weapon at receiver for them. But I mean, their team is honestly set. If they didn't even have a draft this year, they'll be set to compete in the AFC North.
Yeah, really, their biggest problem was quarterback play.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is top notch. They've got great young pieces on the defense, so it's not like they're paying high dollar for all these players. I believe it's just Ward and Garrett that are making big high money. On the offense, they've said that they're still thinking about bringing Landry back, so that could be a possibility. Somebody for Watson to work with underneath, while people like Peoples Jones, and Schwartz,
I don't know how we forgot Amari Cooper went there.
Oh, and they got Amari Cooper. That's right.
That works.
So
that works. Yeah.
Literally, and I believe they re-signed Njoku. So
yes,
to be honest, well, they did lose their center.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to go on ahead and draft another center, I believe they're the center out of Iowa, Linderbaum. I doubt he'll be there when they pick. But if he is, that's a perfect pick for them to go ahead and get him, reassure their offensive line. But yeah, they're set. I'm not gonna lie with Deshaun. Now this all depends on how many games Deshaun Watson plays. Because if he does get suspended, then I'll curtail this. But as of right now, if he plays all the games, I'm expecting them to be contending for the AFC Championship game, potentially, the Super Bowl. But that's what their expectation should be with this team.
Mm-hmm. And then, man, last but not least, the Ravens. Before the season started last year, their season ended. I think everyone on their roster was hurt in the preseason. It was absolutely insane. I don't know how they finished around a 500 team. They went 8-9, I believe. They could have had a shot to make the playoffs. They just kind of folded down the stretch. But honestly, they just need to get healthy, man. They had so many injuries. Peters, Dobbins, just everybody. I think all four of their starting running backs got hurt at one point in the season. So they just need to get healthy. I still think they need to change their offense, but that's the big different story. I think they just need to change their offense. Let Lamar Jackson play quarterback. Let him sink or swim, because the read option every play is getting tiring. In the playoffs, it won't work. So I think honestly, they just need to get healthy. They did sign Marcus Williams, so that's going to help their defense. Other than that, man, just get healthy. And I think they do need a receiver. They keep drafting these fast receivers that's not really working out. They need to sign a number one guy that's not named Antonio Brown, and then they can just go from there.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson's pushing for AB, but they lost Sammy Watkins, they lost Miles Boykin. I don't think either one of them are big losses in a sense. So they've still got Hollywood, they've got Bateman. Hollywood played better down the stretch, but he still got the issues with the drops, here and there, especially like the easy catchable, passes. But if you want to pick up another receiver, that's fine, but pick up a sound route running receiver, not just a guy that's, blazing in the 40. They're fine at tight end. Like you said, they just need to get healthy on the offensive side. On the defensive side, they did lose, they lost Peters. I believe Humphrey got hurt at one point also. Yep. So they can do that. They still, if they want to get another corner, they can, but defense mainly just stay healthy. They're young too, especially at linebacker. They're young. So yeah, their biggest thing is just revamp whatever health sciences you guys are doing last year. Just redo all that and focus on health this year. And they should be contending for the division title. If they do like what you say, I agree. They need to let Lamar throw it more. Because if you let him throw it and you make defenses have to play back, then it opens it up even more for you to run, which you're already, one of the best teams in the league at. So
yeah, because I always say, man, the design runs don't scare me with Lamar Jackson. They don't scare me at all. I think the ones where you're calling the actual pass plays and you got guys in man coverage running around chasing receivers and then he runs, that's when he hurts you.
Exactly.
The design runs are easier to stop. So just let him play quarterback and stop with this running back nonsense. And I think they'll have a chance. But that division is going to be tough. Somebody has to finish last in that division.
But it's
That's gonna
big.
be-
This is a big season for Lamar too, because he's betting on himself. He hasn't signed his contract yet.
I
So
agree.
he's gotta perform if he wants that big. I think he'll get a contract no matter what, but it's just all determining what type of contract, what size contract he gets.
Yes. And then I mean that'll wrap up them. I think this is going to be one of the best divisions in football. The best division will be the last one we'll talk about, was the AFC West. But as always, man, it's the Boot Tragedies, and we out.